Hi, this is Rigsters here, back with another episode. We're going to do a first ccrp weapon release profile with the GBU 38s, otherwise known as Jdams 500-pound class. You can carry a total of 4 of them on stations 3 and 7. They look like this. When you're doing target of opportunity mode, it is recommended but not mandatory to use the lantern targeting pod so it's easier to see. You can use the J helmets, which is your helmet, to look for this stuff, but it's easier to have a targeting pod. Let's get started. So to power on the Jdams, on your right hand screen, you make sure in air to ground mode by pressing AG. Master mode arm is on. You click on the PRW, which says off to on. It'll take a bit for it to wind up and get more accurate. It'll start at a very low accuracy rating, which to determine that, it would usually be showing right around here. Would say like A, or it would count down. But since we already pre-started and warmed up, it already has it all aligned. So on the left-hand screen, we're now going to actually use that here. We're going to click on the FCR button, and you'll see a whole list of buttons here. This is how you customize your HUD or your screens, in particular the left and right MFDs. I prefer to have the target pod on the left, so we click on TGP, and now we have the targeting pod. So if you press display management switch down, DSMS down, you'll have this selected. When you use the radar cursor or RDR cursor, you can manipulate how it looks around the plane. In this case, I already have the targets looking around here. Now I should have the targets already pre-lined up, but because I didn't verify that the Jdam strike actually was doing something right, we're gonna take a look at the next waypoint here. So to zoom in and out the pod, you use the man RNG zoom in, zoom out. Or in this case, the man RNG knob, CCW and CW. If you use the man RNG knob, you can zoom in and zoom out. So in this case, I want to actually aim the pod around here. So one last thing we should turn on is the Symbology INT, which is your J helmets. We turn that on here. You can actually see where the pod is looking with this little square right here, and I'm manipulating it with the radar cursor with the autopilot enabled. So if I have the box just pointed right about there, if I zoom in here on the pod, you can now see some targets. And to change the targeted pod modes, if I press the target management switch left, this changes the mode from white hot, black hot infrared to TV. We're going to use TV mode. And to zoom in further, you click on the button on top here, which is, in this case, left MFD OSB 3. You now have narrow view, so you can see these targets even more accurately. So since these are static targets, we're going to press the target management switch right, which will look like this. Up does point track, which is useful when they're moving. Jdams, the non-laser guided versions, which the F-16 carries, cannot use Jdams on moving targets. They have to be stationary for them to work, because they don't update the GPS coordinates. So you would use laser bombs instead for that, which would be in a different tutorial. So we see the crosshair here, so we want to aim it just below the wheel, right around here. You don't aim above right here, because if you aim above, it's actually looking at the elevation from the ground. So you want to aim actually basically at the ground to hit the target. So right about here would be an ideal shot. So you might be saying, well, that's great, Riggs, but how does this work? So what I gotta do is I gotta turn off the autopilot, climb up a bit. Jdams need height to work with. So we gotta climb the plane a bit to say about 9,000 feet or higher. The higher you are, the faster you are, the more potential range you get out of the Jdams, up to a limited point. Meaning that you want to be, give or take, Mach 0.5 or higher, which is on the left side of the HUD here. On the right side of the HUD, you'll notice some new symbology. This caret and the C bracket. The caret indicates how far away you are from the target. When this caret gets to the inside C bracket, that's when you can hold weapon release. With Jdams, unlike other bombs, you typically will release them one at a time for one target. You can drop them in pairs if you really want to, but I would not recommend it because that would defeat the point of Jdam's accuracy. They can actually follow each other, which is pretty funny. So we're going to level out here. So another thing to note is the F-16 is a little finicky sometimes with releasing Jdams and laser bombs. You have to be pretty stable, which the fly-by-wire helps. But you want to be either just slightly below or above the thin green line between the pitch ladder for it to work. And you want your wings straight and level because ccrp, continuously calculated release point, dictates that you fly straight and level at the target. In this case, we can launch it from like 5 to 10 miles away. Maximum theoretical you can technically do is 15, maybe 20, but you have to be really high and fast to go beyond 10. So we're going to circle around here. And you also notice on the top of the HUD here, it'll say 20 and 10. That's trying to cue me into where I locked the target. So I want to follow with the velocity vector right around here. So I want to make sure I get the altitude hold enabled. So that way I don't have to worry about altitude. That's why you turn the pitch hold on. And then you just roll with the plane. And now, since it's GPS guided, we don't have to worry about clouds. I'm going to hold weapon release, or tap it in this case. The targeted pod, if it does that, that's okay. It's a GPS bomb, so the clouds don't affect the accuracy. It does for lasers, which would be in a different tutorial. So now, if I pause my head tracking here, you'll eventually should see the bomb actually hit the target, which should be in a little bit shortly. So, with the targeted pod, another thing you have to keep in note, and it's different than the, per se, laser bombs, is you don't need to worry about clouds and smoke with Jdams. They do not care about smoke. They use GPS coords. So this bomb should hit any second. Just double check with F6 view. Yep. There we go, impact. So that is how you drop a Jdam onto a target. So that was called that's called shack for NATO brevity. So that's a successful target hit. The main thing with Jdams you have to keep in mind is that you can also pre-plan these bombs as well. And if interest or demand shows that people want to actually see how to do that, I'm more than willing to do it. Otherwise, with Jdams, they typically do best either with a clear-cut target being shown or with pre-planning. They do well with either of those options. They're very versatile in that aspect. Hope you enjoyed this video, and on the next one, we'll do some laser bombs, which are my favorite weapons in DCS to use, regardless of platform. They're very versatile, they're just vulnerable to smoke. So, this is Rigsters Journey, signing off.